Everybody, it is Friday. You've made it to the end of the week. You've made it to the end of a short week. It didn't feel like a short week, though. It felt like
no.
These 4 days were busy, man.
It took forever to get to Friday.
And also, when you have a short week, then everybody has to squeeze more into less.
Oh yeah, and then Tuesday is the new Monday, and then you're like,
It's not like this. It's not like you're expected to do less. Like I've had as many meetings and jobs and things I had to respond to and all kinds of shit this week as I would in a 5-day week. Hey, Flax.
Morning.
Michael Flax is here, everybody.
Morning. It's a good day to be alive.
Isn't it great?
We got the weekend coming up. We had it felt like a month-long week, but
Well, it did, right? I'm not making this up. I mean, now you're a manager and all kinds of things, so you know what it's like to have to look after all this stuff.
yeah, you look at expectations of your week being, it's a chilled week, 4-day week, should be relaxed. Reality is you're doing double as much, you're working double as hard, and you're staying even later to work to catch up for that Monday.
See, this is a thing. I'm very proud of you, Flax. I mean, I know that you're now in your 30s already.
Ooh.
Yeah.
30.
I turned 31 last week.
When you started working with us, you were just 22, 23.
Yeah, still a latte.
You were a baby.
I was getting coffee here. That was like one of my first roles.
I'm just so impressed with you because now you are managing other people.
Yeah.
You know, there was probably a time where you thought that would be great and it's going to be so cool to be like in charge. And now you realize what it is and you're like, I wish I didn't have any responsibility.
No, I love it. The position I'm in, I don't know if you've like felt this or like when you got into your first like real role, that your strengths are properly utilized. Like the things you knew you were good at and you enjoyed and you loved reading about, you now get to explore those like strategies. And
so you live up to your potential.
Yeah, you go in every day and you know that you're actually good at your job because it's what you love. And
also, if you weren't, they'd like just get rid of you.
Yeah, 100%. They'd notice straight away.
Yeah, well done. Listen, you've been very busy. I mean, you're getting married in just a few months' time.
Yeah, 5 months' time. Let me tell you, wedding planning is no joke. You got to get everything down to the detail. What's nice about it, and I mean, others would be able to comment. I think the way a wedding planning goes is the female does majority of it, and the male just will read over the contract and
pay
and arrive on the day, and it's
just
like
agree and pay.
Yeah,
and pay.
I'm fine if my name's in small everywhere. I know I didn't do much. I didn't pick any options.
The best thing is to take out that card.
Yeah, but I think that's how it goes.
That's how to keep me happy. Just pay. That's it.
And this is coming from Simphiwe, who's still looking for a billionaire to make her dreams come true.
But so no one talks about this, but this is how wedding planning goes. The male doesn't do much. He just arrives on the day. He makes sure I haven't even got a suit yet. I need to make sure I get a suit.
Don't worry about that. She'll make sure that she picks the right suit for you.
You are right though, and it is such a great attitude. You're not going to look for any trouble. You will have a happy marriage because you know what your role is. She knows what her role is, and everybody does their thing.
True.
It's again living up to your potential. Like as the guy in a wedding situation, you just mind your own business.
And you have a wedding planner.
Support.
Like, the wedding planner's role is you tell her what you want, and she goes and does that all.
And isn't that like it's a complicated job now? It never used to be. Like a wedding planner would maybe have to organize like the food and have to arrange some of the detail. Now it's like a logistics expert
Yes.
because you have to plan everything.
Oh yes.
The photographer has to be arranged, the table settings, the who sits where, the announcements, the bridal party, the groom's party. I mean, it's like a big full-time job. And these people, they obviously know their stuff. I mean, the difference between a good wedding planner and a shitty one is huge.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's a full production. Yeah. And if it runs late, you get charged a lot of money.
Absolutely, because these venues have realized how they can make extra money.
Yeah.
And trust me, they're not scared to charge. They charge like a wounded buffalo. But anyway, I mean, we get into all of that later. As we were discussing, it's been a short week, but this weekend, I don't know, it's like the end of the month too. So I think a lot of people be excited about the fact that there'll be some money in the account, at least for now.
There's 3 months left of the year. How crazy is that?
And this goes so quickly that there's just no way you can try and squeeze more in than already will happen. And also, there's so many people who just go on a go slow from, I think it's probably October.
Yeah.
People say, put that to next year. I mean, it frustrates the hell out of me because I don't like to slow down before at least the 15th of December. I still want to be doing stuff.
Now's the big push. Now's like the silly season.
Right.
If you push now, you can relax for a good 2 weeks.
The only thing people are pushing is groove. Right now, they're concerned about concerts, the Daisies getting cancelled. Oh no, what am I doing next week? Yeah, it's been
Has it been cancelled?
Yeah, postponed.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
The flooding.
Yes.
Because Lebang was going.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So what's she going to do? Because she's been planning this for like months.
I don't know. All I know is she's having trouble getting like a refund with the Airbnb. And now it's getting tricky. But I can tell you now, people are really there's big concerts that are supposed to happen. And that's what people are focused on. They've paid thousands and thousands. And they're like, I'm going to have a good time.
The flooding's legit. I was watching a video of it in really Franschhoek.
Yeah.
That, like, they're calling it heavy rains and flooding, but this is bigger than that. This is like a disaster zone.
And whenever you think of a place like Franschhoek, you always think it's just like so ideal and nothing goes wrong there. And it seems so beautiful all year round. And everybody there seems to have enough money and, all that kind of thing. And then you hear about this flooding and you see the video and you see the pictures and you're like, what the hell?
I think it's a natural disaster.
No, it's a big problem. Listen, I don't know how much more we can take as a country. We get floods. All we need now is volcanoes.
Don't say anything.
We had an earthquake this year.
We did. Well,
We've had a few.
Listen, there are a couple of times that I've woken up coming down the show and then someone will say on the show, oh, did you feel that tremor last night? I'll be like, what are you talking about? And they'll explain that they felt the world move under them.
That's so hectic.
It is so bizarre. Like that they reckon throughout the history of the earth, which is 4 billion odd years, that this is the longest sustained period since humans have been around. Lucky us. That we haven't had like major cataclysmic species ending natural disasters.
We're on the brink of it.
Oh, don't say that. You sound like Bakabantu with his
But we are though. Like the signs are all there. It would be very naive of us to be like, oh no, we're fine. Oh no, we're not fine.
Listen, we're just lucky that we've had a good run on Earth.
Yeah.
If everything ends, at least,
all I'm saying is I'm glad I'm in South Africa. If we go according to the movies, I'm in the best place. I'm safe.
Listen, Elon Musk wouldn't let anything happen to this world. He would be the first one to tell us there's an asteroid coming, and we must just believe.
Well, I got his biography yesterday.
Ooh.
Which one? The South African made one or the first one?
No, this is the one written by the guy who spent 2 years shadowing him.
Okay, so not that South African one that just came out.
No, it's a fat book. I mean, I'll show you. I'll bring it in.
Is the one with him on the cover?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if he authorized the whole thing.
No, he didn't. He doesn't comment. His dad Earl speaks in it though.
Oh, Errol. So anyway, I've just started it, and the whole book is probably about 400 odd pages long. He spends this author, the author who wrote the book, who did have access to Elon for 2 years.
Jeez.
While he was
like
doing
personal access, like
you could follow him around, sit in his office, see what he does all day. The kind of thing that would drive me absolutely crazy is like someone shadowing you for 2 years. I'd pull my hair out. Anyway, it turns out that this guy had really good access and was able to write. So how much of the 400 pages do you think he dedicated to Elon's kind of, let's say, up to age 15 when he was still in South Africa? How many pages do you reckon he spent?
I think that wasn't even a chapter.
No, he did a lot. He built his first like gaming app and sold it for like R1 million or something.
He spent, I think there are 10 pages out of the 400.
Really?
That's not a chapter.
On his life as a kid in South Africa. There's hardly anything, and most of what there is just awful.
Yeah, he hated it.
It's just they walked past some oak who was bleeding on the sidewalk. He had a dog chew a chunk out of him.
Okay, I don't like the
terrible stuff.
He lost his grandparent in an airplane crash here. Like he went through the motions in South Africa. That's why I don't think he wants to come back yet. It's just bad thoughts.
So his grandparents, the Haldermans, right? That's his mother's parents.
Yeah.
They turns out, were friends with my grandparents.
Really?
Yeah. And because my grandfather used to fly as well. So the two of them would fly together. They would go to and then all the kids would like play together. I only found this out from my mother like 2 years ago. She didn't even know who
kids
Elon.
As in your cousins used to play with Elon Musk?
No, like my mother used to play with Musk's mother.
Oh, mad. May Musk.
Yeah, they knew each other.
Oh, mad.
As kids, though, like as little kids. She only tells me this last year. I said to her, have you noticed there's quite a lot of news about this guy, Elon Musk? She goes, Musk. There used to be some, there was a guy, I remember my grandparents, I mean, her parents, she goes, my parents used to say that they were friends with this. I remember playing with this girl called May Holderman. I mean, they should have stayed friends, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that have been?
Imagine.
Jesus.
Your life would have been so different, Gareth.
Anyway.
You should have brought this up when we had Kimbo. we had Elon Musk's brother on the show, Kimbo Musk.
Kimball. Yeah.
Kimball.
Yeah. I know. I didn't know it at the time. That's how you know. Like these things, it's just weird what's important to us and what's important to our parents. Like my parents at the moment are so chilled and relaxed, and the things that piss them off are like all the things that piss all old people off, like water or electricity problems or any of that stuff, or like there was someone irritating in the shops or that sort of thing. And they don't do like hugely adventurous things. They said to me the other day, I don't know if we want to drive around at night anymore. And that, when you start saying things like that.
It sounds like such an old person thing.
It's such an old person thing.
I need to leave before 6, before it gets dark.
But I saw Flax and his fiance the other night at a big dinner that your mom catered. Geez, your mom did.
She fed 1,000 people in like 20 minutes. Plated.
I don't know how many tons of salmon she had on the tables there. Simphiwe, when I tell you that there was a table the size of this room filled with sushi.
Thousands of pieces of sushi.
I kid you not. It was as big as this room, just piled with sushi. And that was just one of like 3. Your mother is a phenomenon, dude.
She's the #1 kosher caterer in South Africa.
Just say caterer. Because I don't know who can do anything on the scale that she does. It's just phenomenal.
She's been doing it for about 50 years, eh?
And she's so chilled about it.
That's all she's done for 50 years.
Good. I don't know how you are not the fattest person in the world with a mother who can arrange food like that.
I used to be.
Well, that you are not
anymore.
It's impressive. Anyway, tell her I say hello.
I will. On Elon Musk, though, I was watching the Neuralink
with
class.
Flax around. Sorry, Mapello says with Flax around, I knew Elon Musk was going to come up.
I'm obsessed with Elon Musk.
We can tell.
I think he's our savior. Because he's a genius. Okay, Neuralink. Let's take Neuralink for a second.
Okay.
A couple years ago, I remember when they released what Neuralink was and what it does, and we all thought he was joking. This is rubbish. This crazy scientist. Neuralink works. It is a genius idea, and it's just passed into human testing phase, which means that they apply to the FDA for human trials.
Yeah.
FDA has 90 days to approve it, and then they start implanting it in humans. This will basically what it does is they started recording what are those things called that fire those neurons? Yes. They started recording neurons, so now they know what a neuron sort of sounds like and looks like.
Yeah, because it's all electric charges. Well, your brain is run on tiny little bursts of electricity.
So if you want to stand up, the burst of energy then goes to your spine and your back and tells your body, and then you just stand up. So what he's done and successfully done is he can implant this in a human brain, and it will then send the neurons, because it knows exactly what those neurons look and sound like. And paralyzed people will be able to walk again or things like that.
So they say that obviously the first thing they want to do with this is see how it can help people who don't have the ability to move or see or hear or any of those things, and actually repair things and substitute the work of damaged neurons in the brain and spinal cord. But it's also, along the way, there could be all kinds of amazing stuff that happens here. And I don't see a downside. Like, I don't mind if, they have to test this on a few people. It doesn't always work. Let's face it, all the greatest trials in human history, we don't even know how many people sacrificed themselves so that we could have the food that we have. How many people had to eat poisonous shit and die before we realized it wasn't good to eat that stuff? And, along the way, plenty of people sacrificed themselves so that we could have technology and civilization like we do now.
I don't know. If you take Elon Musk's track record of building the spaceships and that, he's never killed a single person, even with a handful of spaceships blowing up. I think this trial is going to be flawless. We're going to go to market. And when he reverse charges this, like a please call me, and starts recording people's actions, then he can start cloning people. You're immortal.
Right? No. You see, and now this is where we get into the conspiracy theories of like, this is just going to be a whole lot of mind control. So I watched what they cloned Tyrone. It's a movie on Netflix. Really, really great. If you haven't watched it, I recommend that you watch it.
All right.
And it plays on the stereotypes of a pimp.
Just lift the mic a bit.
There we go. Yeah. A pimp, a drug dealer, and a hoe.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Okay.
All right. In the Black community. Right. All right. So those are the three main characters. And they take you on this journey of how, like, in communities, we cannot, in everything in life, like, we are mind controlled from the hair, the food, the alcohol, the things that we do, even our mannerisms in the States. It's been altered and controlled.
Yeah, but you don't want to be, you don't want to get all paranoid now and miss out on the chance of us actually improving ourselves.
Yeah, but I'm just saying when it gets to the part where now...
The benefits, I really reckon, outweigh the potential problems, at least at this stage. And sure, along the way, we're going to have ethical issues to deal with. It's like self-driving cars and all of that stuff. You're going to have to figure out how to get around the problem areas, because these things are not going to make human decisions. They're going to make logical decisions,
which are better than human decisions sometimes.
But sometimes also they're just a bit sketchy.
But you talk about hookers, right?
Yes.
So I saw the funniest thing yesterday, and I don't know if I can even play this, because if I play it, it's gonna cause all kinds of trouble with copyright on YouTube and all that shit. But I mean, it's this brilliant video of they take a drone and they follow a bunch of hookers around in LA. Like, the drone is like hovering above these hookers, and they're walking around in their in their platform clear heels. And they got like bikinis on, and they're like stumbling on their heels around LA and going into like shops and standing on the sidewalk. And these drones are like buzzing, and the one hooker throws a beer bottle at it.
Love it.
And then they've got a guy who does the voice of David Attenborough. So he's like,
mad.
Here we can see the prostitutes in downtown LA looking for sucker among all their many clients.
Sucker.
While their pimps wait in the streets and alleyways nearby. And it's hilarious. It's like a wildlife documentary on like hookers. And every time these hookers notice that the drone is around, they get really cross.
They don't want their lives exposed like that.
I love it. It's one of the best videos I've ever seen. I love it.
I think one of like the coolest YouTube videos I've seen, and I didn't think I would be so taken aback by it. It is a stripper who basically documents how much money she makes every week. Yeah. So she goes in and she'll be like, there's Brittany, she's a bitch. And
she talks about the other.
And then she's like, there's Stephanie, not that great, but she's fine. I don't have friends here. And then she has like 3 different clubs that she strips at. And then she collects all the money, and then she washes the money and whatnot. And then she'll be like, let's count. $1, $500. Well, in 1 hour, we made $1,000.
See, because we don't know unless you actually sit at a strip club and talk to a stripper. And frankly, who the hell wants to do that?
And they're going to lie to you.
Of course
they won't tell you the real name. They all tell you they have a degree and they're studying this. They want you to pay for tuition.
Correct. And who wants to sit and talk to them anyway? That's not what they're there for. And they don't want to sit and talk to you unless they think there's a payday at the end of it.
Yeah.
Like, there are these very sad men who go to these strip clubs, and I've seen them before when I've been there. They'll sit there with a stripper for like an hour, and the poor girl is like waiting for him to say, hey, can I have a table dance or a lap dance or whatever? And she should really be charging for her time.
Yeah.
She should say to him, all right, I'll sit here and talk to you, you sad loser. I'll give you, like, for an hour, I want 10 grand.
Sure.
Especially if she's really good looking, because then she can charge.
And all she does is nod.
All she has to, she could, like, in her head, she could be working out her grocery list for the next day or whatever. But a waste of time for her when she eventually realizes like this dude is not going to pay. He's not going to book her for a dance. And she's like, ugh, what a waste of my day. You know?
They should start by like asking, is there anyone you fancy in here? Is there anyone that's caught your eye?
No, but
Assess demand.
No, it's so competitive. So they don't like referring other girls to potential clients. So it's a thing of like you get there and they all have like slots. So she'll have an 8 o'clock slot, a 9 o'clock slot, a whatnot slot. And in that hour, you gotta make it work, girl. And if somebody else comes in,
I think strippers are awesome to just observe.
Yes.
That's why, I mean, I know that people would be freaked out by the idea that there are drones following, because I don't want a drone following anyone around, right?
Sure.
But I mean, there's something really funny about like hookers in their natural environment, like trying to score like some cash on the streets of LA. And these guys who are obviously tormenting these poor women with like this thing's buzzing because you can hear a drone.
Yes.
Right? That's the funny thing. And I do hope that we don't develop drones that are so silent that you can't hear them, because I think there'll be a lot of dodgy people who'll be spying on each other.
That'll be weird.
And there's still rules around like where you can fly them and stuff, but it is hilarious to see when they recognize that there's a drone near them. They like start throwing shit at it. They take off their shoes. They run it's with those tight little skirts that they're wearing. They're like hiding behind rubbish bins. And
wow. That sounds like a traumatic experience.
I love it though. I really do. All right, so a couple of things we have to talk about now. Last week,
yes,
Flax, you probably didn't hear this, but we were talking about how it's been this big thing on the internet, and it's come up like 20 times with different people in the last couple of weeks. So the guys think about the Roman Empire way too often for girls liking, and women are completely perplexed by this. Why would guys be thinking? I don't know if you ever think about the Roman Empire. Probably not.
No.
Oh, okay.
He is an exception.
Maybe when like, you know, like when you're on the, I don't know, you're playing a game and like the Roman Empire game pops up, and to collect tokens, you got to, that's when I think about
That's
it.
the only time you think about it.
Okay.
Otherwise not.
Fair enough.
But you have discovered, and this is the addendum to this whole discussion, because it's been going on for weeks, and it's even come up with friends of mine. They're like, oh, how often do you think about the Roman Empire?
Yes.
People do. So it's just a thing. If you don't, as a guy, you're the exception.
That's fine.
But women, we still haven't worked out what they think about as often as we think about the Roman Empire. Remember I said last week it was stuff like, you know, clothing or fashion or whatever. Like
I went and did the research.
Furniture, who knows what.
I went and did the research.
Okay, what?
Now, right?
We've got it.
Collectively, as women, right? I think we now know what our version of the Roman Empire is.
Just hold on, because I do want to preface this by saying that every time Simphiwe is doing research in inverted commas, it turns out to be a huge disappointment. And it's like some poll that she picked up on like BuzzFeed or something.
It's like Santon City on Black Friday.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, she'll ask 3 of her friends and she's like, research shows. All right, what do you got?
Okay. Ladies in the comment section, back me up, right? If I'm wrong or right, because But number 1 is safety. So what a lot of women think about is like, what would happen if I get kidnapped? What would happen if I was like in a dangerous situation and stuff like that? Like that's constantly on our mind.
By the way, I think we have that in common, because guys don't think about safety, but we often think, and I know this too from talking to friends of mine about this. I mean, I mentioned the zombie apocalypse. Like as a guy, you're always thinking, okay, if someone attacked me,
like an exit plan,
right? Like, and what sort of weapon would I use, and who would win in a gunfight between this gun and that gun, or a big guy and a smaller guy, and who's faster and who's stronger? And that's how guys think a lot of the time.
Often, like when I'm in a restaurant, I'll like sit and think, if someone came through this door, where am I going? Like over that counter, through that back room, but where does that back room lead to?
I will also say about the safety thing is that we've also notice that with women, when they're around men that they trust, their brains tend to switch off. So like in a restaurant, you thinking of the exit, whatnot. I'm like, oh no, the food is great.
Yeah, so you can actually enjoy yourself if you're feeling safe.
Yes. But in general, when I'm on my own, I'm like,
But let's be fair.
I need to know.
Part of the reason that women have to think about safety all the time is because men have traditionally, over thousands of years of history, made it unsafe for women to just not, you know, as a woman, you got to watch out. Some guy's going to try to have sex with you without you even knowing what's going on. People are going to rob you because, you know, like women are traditionally not as strong as men. And I don't mean just in terms of culture. I mean in terms of evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And women's priorities are different and they're built differently. And I mean, there are exceptions, but mostly women have to look out for this stuff. So I get it. Okay.
So that's the first one. The second one is the bit of the airy fairy stuff, which is the future of like getting married to like the super wealthy man. Even if you are a married woman, you still, fantasize about like what happens or what could happen if I got married to the prince of.
No, you think that all the time.
No, women.
Yes, you do.
Women. It's a woman thing. I promise
but you especially. I know. I mean, how often on the show does it come up that whenever we talk about someone who's successful or good looking, or
every girl, that's the exit plan in life. It's just marry rich.
Yeah, but it's also like planted in your head from watching every name a single movie where she marries a poor man and happy.
Never happened.
Never.
The happily ever after happens, and then you think about it, you're like, that could be me. Oh my gosh, she's living my dream, but it's not me. But you see, that's what women think about. And last but not least, the other thing is, if I was a man, what would I do? So it's also like
you'd hold your balls in your hand all day.
It's like it feels like
we do that.
Guys have like this privilege, and we're just so curious to find out like what it is to be like.
So okay, we got safety. We've got like plans for the future.
Yes.
But in this life, not like the plans for civilization's future.
No, it's all about me and the perfect wedding and the Prince Charming and the happily ever after. Like, that's
right. Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes sense. I don't actually think this is bullshit research at all. First time in a long time, Simphiwe has brought like stuff I can actually I consider this is good, solid, credible information.
Who was the focus group for this information?
It's like Simphiwe and Simphiwe's head. Yeah, but it's still it bears some
one tweet later
with one like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people also comment here, and you remember him too. And Mapelo says, Sia used to think about marrying rich all the time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's a plan. It's a plan in life. Like if I've given up on life, I know all I need to do is marry rich.
It's like a get rich quick plan, but it's never successful because you're not marrying for the wrong reasons. And those relationships end up like abusive or something.
I think a lot of the time, if you go into something with the wrong values, it's going to go badly.
Yeah, you know, the second someone offers you a scheme where you're going to make big bucks, it's a Ponzi scheme.
Total nonsense. Any easy money never stays for long.
There's no such thing as get rich quick. It's hard graft, grit, and time.
And a lot of it is shitty. So David Sachs says, Simphiwe's research results are similar to when you buy something on Wish and you get your delivery. You kind of know the topic, but the end result is so different. Sometimes you strike gold, like today. All right. Well, I mean, don't knock it because I think she makes a good point. And we were wondering last week what it is that women think about. By the way, also last week, we spoke to Ben, and he's in Rome at the moment. He's busy watching the Ryder. He went to the Ryder Cup. And if you've been following him on his social media, you will see he's been all over Rome. He went to the Trevi Fountain. He was at the Colosseum. And he takes pretty good pictures, Ben, actually. I mean, he kind of used to do this for a living, so he knows what he's doing. But he's loving it. I think it's his first time ever in Rome, so he's loving that too. So when we talk about the Roman Empire, you see how it always comes back to this?
Yeah.
Always.
Ben he's probably the one person on earth that I know that loves sports so much. My God, he's so passionate about it.
And even things like golf. Can you imagine? Like, I don't know. I've watched the $1 Million at Sun City, but not the whole day. I would like 1 or 2 hours maybe max, and then I'm like
boring.
So boring. And on TV, when there's golf on TV, which I don't really have on anymore, I just fall asleep. Like the way those guys start talking. Oh, no, he's going for the putt. This will get him a par on this par 4. Yeah. You start to drift off, and like you find yourself. You know how you like on a plane when your head just falls like a bladder on a stick and you just fall asleep in the most awkward and uncomfortable position? That's what happens when I watch.
I'm a firm believer, and Ben's going to hate me for this, but we should only be watching sports highlights. Let's just watch the good parts in a 3-minute recap and we're good to go.
No.
So apparently Ben says there's a bus driver strike in Rome. So it's not just strikes that happen here. They happen all over the world. And he will be coming to us live from a taxi just now. So okay, good news.
I will say Ben has influenced me to be a bit more interested in rugby. Like rugby was not a thing for me.
Yeah. Me
and
too.
now it is. Like
me too.
I was following that South Africa and Ireland game, and I was like, "Oh my word, this is interesting." Ireland had just a tad bit smarter than SA, but it was such a game. You see, not like.
How's that? You never thought you'd hear those words from Simphiwe, right?
Yeah.
So just to cover in a couple of gaps here, here's the Elon Musk book. It's by Walter Isaacson. That's the book I was talking about earlier. So it arrived yesterday, and I've just kind of looked through the first few pages. And we'll see what happens in his story, because I'm sure it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
this is the second time someone's reporting live from Rome. I reported from Rome. Remember after the earthquake?
That's right.
And I'm got to meet the Pope.
That's right. Flax.
We're international here.
Flax got to meet the Pope.
I hope Ben has the same opportunity this morning.
Well, he's going to be in a taxi.
I forgot about that.
He's going to be in taxi.
Flax met the Pope. I mean,
what are the odds? Goes to Rome, first earthquake.
And there you are.
Just me and Pope Francis or whoever it was.
Are you excited that because you were somehow like with the family at Winnie Mandela's funeral as well?
Yeah, you know.
Are you score that invite?
Are you excited about them renaming William Nicol to Winnie Madikizela Mandela Drive?
I did the reveal for them.
I don't know how you get these things that you've done and the people you've met. It's unbelievable. All right. I like being human, says Judas. She says, I don't agree with Elon Musk. Yes, some will benefit from what he's doing, but I feel like we get close to cloning humans like playing God. Well, you got to take your chances. And of course, there are risks with all of this stuff. I'm glad that there are still humans who are pushing the frontiers. If everyone was safe and everyone did the safe thing, we would never evolve as a species. So it's good. It's good to do this stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So we started speaking also last week about Gogo Maweni. And apparently there's some updates on that front too. So Simphiwe is full of updates. You see, we carry on the conversation from last Friday. What do we got?
Americans, they don't like leaving South Africans alone. That's the issue, right? So I think Ryan uploaded the video, but I'll give you context to it. Is that there's some American boy who is talking about hair, and he just decided to drag South African women to say they can't grow hair, they can't dye their hair is just not that good. And then he specifically was like, you Zulu hoes.
Wow.
Whoa.
He's an American dude?
Non-factual.
Right? And then he's just dragging South Africans. And you know what? South Africans came together and they're like, not on our watch. You're not going to disrespect that. Because he even dragged Doja Cat. He was just you can tell she can't even grow her hair.
And who is this dude? Nobody knows him?
We don't know him from a bar of soap.
You know, this came up in a conversation yesterday about how we can say shitty things about each other as South Africans, right? We're allowed to like fight and argue and like this versus that. And we have plenty of reasons, like a family, to have foibles and issues with each other.
Yes.
But the minute someone from outside goes after one of us, suddenly we all band together and we're like, okay, let's teach this person a lesson. This happened with the word colored the other day.
Yes.
Because Americans don't like the word colored. They think it's a racist term. In South Africa, it's a whole population in South Africa. We don't think of it as racist at all. And the Americans started like lecturing us about the word colored. And South Africans took no shit.
Yes.
They put these Americans in their place.
Yes.
They shouted them down. They came out in force.
Yes.
It was fantastic.
And you would have thought they learned their lesson. But no.
Listen,
they tried us.
I have to say, like, there's one topic I do not go near is like women's hair, especially black women's hair. I know nothing. I have no business getting involved in any of that shit.
Yeah, I also know nothing about that.
Stay out of it if you know what's good for you.
Yes. So as South Africans, we got together and they started roasting him. It got to a point where Gogo Maweni entered the chat
now.
Oh, shit. And she was just basically...
Gogo Maweni is a sangoma, but she's not. She's actually a witch. She's a witch.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, she's a witch and has social media.
Yes. And she's the kind of witch who will be like, if you're having baby daddy issues, like he's not paying child support, come to me. I'll sort it out.
Is she like an influencer witch?
Yeah, but like...
Yeah, but she's also like properly evil.
She has a reality show where she shows us the crazy things that she does.
And is it true? Like, is that thing like, can she make your penis grow bigger?
No, she doesn't do that.
She does do muti and, you know.
Yeah, she does the thing like like her ex-boyfriend, like she bewitched him and he went crazy because he wasn't paying child support.
What?
So she
have you had her on the show?
No, we're not doing that.
We're not doing that. They won't let me invite her. All I want is to invite the woman.
No, we're not doing that. But Gogo Maweni has entered the chat now to be like, and then she responded to the video, and she was just like, "Foot sack," you know, like, and then she basically said, "I'm going to bewitch you."
Oh my God!
Shit. He's a goner.
So watch this guy.
So now we're all like, yeah, and then South Africans, they're like, yes, we've been waiting for you. Show him what we're made of. Like, do the things to be done. I feel sorry for the Oak now because I'm like, you should have never said anything.
All right, let's go to Ben. He's on the line now. Hey Ben, you're in a taxi. We can hardly see you. It's dark there still.
I know, guys. It's very dark. I'm feeling a bit scratchy. There's a bus driver strike, but here I am.
Look at you. All right. So first of all, it is light here in South Africa. So obviously the seasons are changing. How's Rome so far?
Yeah, Rome is absolutely incredible. It's so much better than I had high hopes, but there was so much more. So I've been exploring. It's amazing. And the weird thing about, I don't know, maybe we get too obsessed with sporting events back in SA, but you don't think there's a Ryder Cup on here. So it's not like you're completely bombarded with it. So you can do both. You go to the event, it's all out golf. You go to the city, you can still have a city experience. It's really nice.
So let's talk about some sport while we've got you on, because I'm sure you've got some stuff that you want us to pay attention to this weekend. And it's Beyond the Scoreboard with Ben, powered by Super Bets. This is something Simphiwe even gave you some credit just now, Ben, that you've got her excited about rugby. So that's not the only case for Simphiwe. It's probably the case for a lot of us. So go ahead.
Well, damn right, guys. The World Cup is obviously every 4 years, and it's in the same time zone as us. So this is a World Cup to be excited about. So this week's got maybe not the best week as far as like major matches, because last week was a massive high. But last night, Japan beat Samoa, which was a good result for them. So they were kind of like the dark horse team in that group. And as we said in the beginning, they love a World Cup upset. But they're almost kind of like slow riding the quarters now, because they beat Samoa. They now just need to beat Argentina on October the 8th. And then they go through, and Argentina, who've been quite pissed poor from the start, actually, they're going to go away. So tonight we've got the big game, Italy versus New Zealand at 9 o'clock. Now, I know Italy's not going to win. They're not quite good enough. But that first 20 minutes is going to be so fiery, because New Zealand are obviously going to finish second in that group, and they're a little bit unconfident right now. Maybe, they sort of realize their squad doesn't have the depth that they would like. So that game's going to be very fiery. And then tomorrow we've got Argentina versus Chile, the big South American derby. Well, I say big South American derby because, well, Chile will be excited about that. Argentina, not so much. And then Fiji versus Georgia, and then Scotland versus Romania. Now, Scotland, they have what's always been a thing that Proteas supporters used to talk about, a mathematical chance of getting through. They basically got to give Fiji 6 of the best trousers down and then hope that somehow they beat Ireland and we somehow slip up against Tonga. So that all sounds like bullshit, so let's leave it at that. They're going to beat them, but we'll go through. Australia versus Portugal, 5:45. Eddie Jones finally gets some competition he could probably, wrestle with. Eddie Jones is, going into the World Cup, he had all these amazing press conferences where people were just ragging him, and he was telling people they know nothing about rugby. And then Wales beat them by 40 points. So all the things that he was talking about came back in his face pretty hard. There's speculation he's going to join Japan after this World Cup, to which he says, I don't know what you're talking about, mate. But this guy, he's just an absolute car crash right now, and so is this Wallaby team, which is it's a bit sad because they're hosting the World Cup. I think it's the next one, so they've got 4 years to try and turn the ship around. But the problem is the ship's underwater, so we'll see how that goes. And then,
is there any excitement about the World Cup in Italy? I mean, you mentioned that they're playing this weekend, but do Italians even care about rugby enough for you to pick it up in Rome?
Haven't really had a chance to get an impression from the Italians themselves, but one thing I found interesting is that when we landed in Paris, there wasn't even signs for the Rugby World Cup there.
Yeah,
like I said,
that's what I heard.
Like we're obsessed about these events when they happen. Here, they're like, yeah, cool. But yeah, I mean, we're going to go to an Irish pub tonight to watch the Italy game because there's I don't think there's that much other interest around here. And then Sunday, we're going to go to another Irish pub to watch SA versus Tonga. So that's 9 o'clock. Ooh. And predictably, SA are going to ring some changes for this one. So Pollard is back. Now, I know there's a massive debate about, do we put him straight back in because he's going to be the goal kicker? But there's no guarantee. I mean, so far in recent times, he's played 20 minutes for his club team. He got 1 out of 2 and got a yellow card. So it's not like he's going to come in. It's not like he is the silver bullet. And Rassie said as much. This is the thing about international rugby. But he's going to get a chance versus Tonga. Obviously coming back from a calf injury, so that will be an interesting test. Kobus Reinach will be the number 9 there, so that's a new sort of combination. And then Mienie is on the bench, so maybe the last 20 you can come on, and maybe you can get some kicks, get some confidence. But Dwayne Vermeulen's also starting at 7, so they're mixing things up a little bit. Either way, they're going to be too strong for Tonga, and it'll be 9 o'clock. And that's pretty much the World Cup rugby for this weekend, as I do get more light, as you can see.
Yeah, we can see. Here. So where are you off to right now at this time of the day?
Marco Simeone is the golf course. So basically, it's about 40 minutes outside of Rome. And this golf course is super interesting. Like in 1994, I think it was, they hosted the Italian Open and they decided to redesign it. And then in recent times, they literally bulldozed it again so they can be Ryder Cup ready. And the thing about the Ryder Cup is that because there are so many people, which I'll share pictures with on Instagram later, you need a lot of people and it's a massive infrastructure to get this thing together. So yeah, it's been redesigned a couple of times. There's like an old family that does own this basically, and the old family castle is on the golf course.
Oh wow!
So amazing history. It's a super interesting golf course, but it is impossibly perfect out there. You can go to the nicest golf course anywhere in South Africa, maybe Leopard Creek, the Links, and it's not even close to the conditioning of this place. It's like they've had a team of 1 million gardening gnomes with small scissors that have gone and cut every single blade. It's so perfect and everything. Yeah. So it's a very different experience to Ryder Cup. You can go to tournaments, but this is like a pilgrimage for people. There's so many Americans in funny outfits. They've come all the way, obviously, to watch just this week. You've got Europeans ranging from the Scandinavians to the Scots to the drunken Irish. So you've got the most amazing people watching experience. But something I found quite funny yesterday, because it's really, really hot here at the moment. So it's like high 20s, and it's like kind of like a Cape Town summer, really. And all these Northern Hemisphere people have rocked up in their fancy dress, but they haven't quite factored in the fact that it's really hot. So people, I think, are going to get sunstroke. There are people who are sizzling, and the thing is, like, when you're on a golfing holiday, your hydration plan is just cold beer. So I think we're going to see some very interesting sort of things out there today. And just to get into the actual event itself, like the Americans haven't won here since 1993. The last time the Americans won, whoomp, there it is, was actually in the charts as a contemporary hit.
we were still in apartheid.
And we were still the old South Africa, basically. Yeah,
exactly.
That's how long it's been, but it's really tough.
Just angle your camera slightly, just to what's outside there. Oh no, I thought maybe I saw
a bus.
There's a bus. You lied about the
someone's bus. No, I think what happened is they found that bus and they're driving it themselves.
Okay, all right. Well, so you said they haven't won so the pressure's on. Since 1993, the Americans haven't won. Huh.
There's massive pressure because the Americans obviously are very good in America, and not a lot of them play global golf, so to speak, whereas the Europeans are a bit more hardy. And it's just a very, it's not that the European crowds are abrasive or anything like that. It's just culturally coming over here. The European teams gel better. I mean, I interviewed Paul McGinley a while ago, so he was an ex-captain. And I just said to him, is a massive factor that you guys get drunk together pretty well. And he said, yeah, I mean, it's not even an Irish thing. The Europeans genuinely get together. There's a lot more camaraderie. When they're here for a week, they enjoy their time. When the Americans are here, they're very serious. They've got their own little things. They're very buddy in their own little silos. So team cohesion's been massive for the Ryder Cup, and it's shown in the results. But the last time out, Europe had the worst ever results against America. At Whistling Straits, they got the biggest thrashing ever. So, yeah, I think on paper, the Americans generally always have better teams, if you look at the world rankings. But now the Europeans have got absolute stars, but then they've also got, some chunky guys like Robert McIntyre, who I don't think will get through this week. He's probably the least form of all the teams. I saw him hit a shot yesterday about 40 meters left of the fairway, right to the fairway. But it's also funny because there's 12 people per team and only 8 play in a session. So they're always sitting guys out. And then come Sunday, everyone has to play. So that's where everyone goes for the singles. So, I mean, I kind of always feel Europeans are the favorites going to be going into this, but that American team, they've got 3 of the 4 major winners for the year, I think it is. And, Wyndham Clark, actual name, that's not a train station. Wyndham Clark said that him and a couple other guys only know dominance with these things. They don't know coming over here and losing a Ryder Cup because it's the first time. So they believe that all that sort of ignorance is bliss thing is going to help them. So yeah, if you're a golf fan, this is one of the best weeks that you can possibly have. Intense matchups. Awesome. The stakes are so incredibly high. But if I would be pushed to go for a team,
I
don't know, cock and block. I'm actually going to go American this time around.
Okay, wow, that's a big bet.
That's where my head's at.
That's something to take to Superbets. So if you are going to do that, superbets.co.za. And of course, if you sign up via cliffcentral.com, you get an extra $50 in there, which is nice to play with. And you can go and place your bets on the rugby as well. But Ben, before we let you go, because we can actually see you now, the sun's starting to come up. You don't look like a vampire. What else are you hoping to do while you're in Rome? I mean, it's one of the best places in the world to be.
Yeah, I had a good walk around yesterday. Looked a lot of the Colosseum. I saw, like last night, I went to the Trevi Fountain at 10:30 and it was still packed. Wow. There is so much to do, but I'm going to hold off on doing too much because I want to spend a full day at the golf and really I kind of understand what this is about. But I have to come back. Like, it's a very romantic city. So being here technically by myself, although I've got lots and lots of new friends here. I'm on a group of like.
Bus is packed.
They're so annoyed. They're like, this guy won't stop talking.
Yeah, and they're all sitting there being so nice and quiet while you do your link to us.
Did you brief them?
Well, I said, guys, I'm going to start a call right now. They're like, oh, okay. These amazing gents are sitting here quietly. The bus driver even turned Tina Turner down a little bit. It's quite awkward though.
All right. Well, we look forward to hearing more adventures from you when you're back.
Yeah, and if you are a golf fan, follow me on Instagram at The Bounce. I'll be putting up a lot of stories today, showing you what's there. It's a really, really special event. It really is.
Absolutely. Go and follow Ben. And at that moment, his data cuts out. So there we go. All right. Perfect. Thank you, Ben. And of course, the Superbets sports stuff that we get out of Ben is always what we use on a Friday to place our bets. Simphiwe, I lost horribly on South Africa last week.
Yeah, same.
Like a lot of us did.
But it was a good match, though.
If you want to go along and give it a try, you can do that right now. And of course, Superbet supports responsible gambling. No under 18s. Winners know when to stop. The South African Responsible Gambling Foundation's toll-free counseling hotline is 0800 006 008.
What is the translation of the saying when Ben says 6 of the best pants down?
In what, Italian?
Like, what does it mean?
He means you get your ass kicked.
Oh,
yeah. He means that's 6 of the best means they're going to punish you.
Oh, okay. Does that mean like whips?
Yeah, 6 of the best is what you used to get at school if you behaved badly and the headmaster gave you 6 of the best. That was like 6 of the best was the most hectic punishment in the days of corporal punishment. You couldn't hit a child more than 6 times, but you could always hit them less than 6 times. 6 was the maximum, means you really fucked up.
Did you ever get that?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm that old.
Sure.
Yeah, when the headmaster used to have a cane.
Yeah.
That would have left nightmares.
Made of bamboo, usually.
A shambok.
Like a shambok. Yeah, like a shambok.
Like child abuse, but I'm not mad.
Well, I'm not complaining. And I think there are a lot of people these days who should probably be getting 6 of the best, and then we'd have a much better functioning society. That's all I'm going to say.
How was that legal? Like,
because your parents weren't around and children are shits.
Yes,
and sometimes they behave like little assholes and need to be taught lessons.
Yes.
That is so,
I mean, if you met children.
Yes, imagine that happened today. There'll be war.
Wasn't a big deal in those days. In fact, when I used to get into trouble with the headmaster, then I would also get into trouble with my parents after that.
Yes.
In other words, they took his side. Yes. They were like, yeah, you were a little shit, so you got what you deserved.
Jeez.
Talk about personal responsibility. These days, the parents all take child's side and then it's the school's fault. And they can't even discipline the children. They're, please, children, won't you please cooperate? And the kids are behaving like demons.
Yeah, and they're like, why, man?
Why should I? Why should I?
My dad owns the school.
I think a teacher's job is so hard. Like, imagine having to control like 20 kids that all think they're much older than they actually are.
You know what's sad is that they go through that every year.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I was 16 once.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I knew everything at 16. No, teachers meet 16-year-olds every year. And then they get a new version of like a 16-year-old.
And I think they get more because they're so much more confident these days, and they have technology and access to information, and like there are things that make it even harder for teachers to try and discipline anybody now. And they're not going to listen to you. What are you going to do?
They're probably like, when they announce the kids in your class, they're like, don't want. There's like a single kid or a handful of kids in a grade they don't want, and as soon as they hear they're in their class, they know their year's ruined.
It's ruined. Yes.
Ruined.
Yeah, and I used to like wonder. I'm like, why is this grown lady like fighting with kids? I now understand. Like, we are terrorists. Like, kids are the worst thing on earth. Like, I love them, but if we're being honest, like, we think we know it all. We're like, you don't know my struggle, man. In fact, let me tell you something. You don't know nothing. This is your first heartbreak. This is your first time getting any real somewhat freedom. You think you know it all, but you actually don't.
Well, Francois says, when the office called my dad to tell him I'd messed up, my dad was like, "Yo, murum." That's what used to happen. Consequences and accountability. Imagine that in the real world. Congo Chris, who's like, he wants to start a political party with Shambox, because he believes that every time anyone steps out of line, you Shambok their feet. So he says, "Viva Shambox, viva." Corporal punishment is needed, Steve says. It depends. I mean, this is such a controversial thing. Some people are totally against it. Some people think it's exactly what's missing. Spare the rod, spoil the child. And now we're getting all these natural disasters, says Hardy Dave. Not related at all, but there we go. Peter says the principal had a selection of canes. Getting cuts was a thing of pride.
Was there anything else besides a cane on the bum?
So you'd get detention, or you'd get you'd be suspended if it was really bad from school. So you couldn't go to school for like a week or two, which for me was always like, I would love that.
Yeah.
To not have to go to school.
I remember someone telling me a story where you'd like put your hands between two like wood planks or something.
Was
or
this
like
from
rulers?
The 1800s?
I don't know.
So
what did you do there?
We used to have a teacher who had a whistle around his neck on a leather strap.
Okay.
This was in primary school. We loved this teacher, though. He was one of the best teachers anyone could ever wish for.
Okay.
Almost like one of those English schoolmasters from the movies, like just loved teaching, loved the subject he was teaching us, which I think he taught us geography in the year that I was in his class. And he was just awesome. He was like, he knew a lot. He was funny. He didn't take any shit, though. If you stepped out of line, that whistle came off from around his neck. And
shit.
Okay.
Was there even warning, or was it
no
straight
warning.
up?
You'd be like, and he never called you by your first name. It was always by your surname. So it was Cliff. Boom. Next thing you knew, you'd have like the whistle strap.
Yeah.
Right over your leg or whatever.
Were you allowed to try dodge it, or was that?
You could try dodge it, but then if he got you the second time,
it's always bad when you try dodge.
An extended hand then.
But, I never felt like it was abuse or victimization. It was always like, children are shits. They have to be kept under control, especially if they're like 30, 40 of them in a class. I don't know how I would do that without the threats of physical violence. Would you?
Was there ever like the one big kid, the strong kid, the kid that
like
grew
stood
taller
up to the teacher?
But like he knew he could, because he had those hormones in him.
Yeah, I've had, well, not me personally, but in one of our classes, we've had guys do that, because one day you guys are super short, and then
Suddenly
next term he's like taller than the teacher, and he's like, and they have this attitude. And I don't know like how teachers dealt with it, but there was a way that these ladies know how to put them back in their place.
But once the kid masters the teacher, either physically or in terms of like confidence and attitude, then it's over for the teacher. That teacher's finished.
Checkmate.
Then they're just going to be victimized for the rest of the time that they're the teacher, because none of the class will take them seriously after that. It's like, like dogs, when there's a sick dog, the rest of the dogs attack it. It's like that. So as a teacher, you can never let your guard down. We had a headmaster in primary school too, when I was in KZN, who, like, the guy smoked so many cigarettes, right? he would smoke 3 packs a day or something. And he was old. He was probably, well, I mean, to us, he was old. So he was probably in his 60s, 50s, maybe even.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the smoking, it had taken its toll. That guy we were still scared of him, even though he was old, feeble, and like couldn't even say a sentence without coughing. But if you were sent to his office, it was big shit. And you were afraid.
He's the last in the hierarchy.
Right.
After him, what happens?
He's like the boss in a game. You know, in a game, you play all the different levels and you get to the level where you have to defeat the boss. And the boss is always like this impossibly strong. That's him. So you didn't mess with him.
Oh, yeah.
And he was always like very nice and kind to everyone, never said a word. But if you were sent to his office,
it's done.
Finished. That was like, you'd come back and all the other kids would be like, what happened? What happened? How many did you get? It was like, tell us the story. And then it was like a war story. So you would train on that for like a week. Everybody was like, wow, you know, you survived his office.
Oh, my word.
So it was hilarious.
That's hectic.
Wooden ruler on the palm of the hand for girls, says Wendy.
Ooh.
Wow, okay.
Hectic.
I had a friend who got the rod prematurely at the start of the day for whatever he would do later on.
Man.
Must have been a bad kid.
Ooh.
At the start of high school, you were scared of jacks. By the end of it was a joke. You would take cuts over the detention. I would rather get like a hiding from the headmaster than go to detention.
Why?
Because detention, you have to sit there for like an hour or two after school sometimes. Horrible. I got detention. I can't go home. You have to sit in a classroom and like write out words or whatever it was they made us do. I don't know, because I would rather go for the cane.
Did you have to pull your pants down, or could you do it over clothes?
No. They just do it over
clothes. I think it's going to take too long. That's interesting because
take too long. So I don't have time for this.
It's like undoing your belt. No, it's none of that. Simply, you just bend over and it's like boom.
Yeah, I'm just saying if you're getting the punishment, they still have to wait for you to add no. That's just, but I think that's interesting with the detention because they tried doing something like that in our high school and it was a blast. It was a vibe. Like you actually wanted to get detention.
You wanted to?
Yeah, it was like because it was like you'd get there. Yes, you at school for another hour, but you're not doing anything. You're actually chilling with your friends.
Congo Chris says we should never have let the kids out of the coal mines.
Oh.
A guy in my grade 6 class, says McGill, called out the teacher. That was the boy's last day at school. I saw the guy not so long ago. It didn't turn out well for him. He's still a disaster. Jared says the teachers at our high school did not want to stay around after school to look after the detention kids. So they sent the detention kids to sit with the hostel kids for homework time.
Ooh.
That was probably way worse.
Ooh.
We had a few teachers who had mini wooden cricket bats. The one the teacher called the Persuader. Wow.
That's hectic.
Yeah.
All right.
So Hardy Dave says my gran had a belt nailed to a short bat. Wow.
Wait, a belt
nailed to a short bat. That was his gran. His gran was like a sadomasochist. Clearly. Wow,
grandmothers are built different.
See, it's like a fine line. What's acceptable and what's not acceptable. 7:00. We got to take a break. We'll be back in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. CliffCentral.com. Loads of stuff still to come.
This week on the AutoTrader Podcast. This is to address the contingent of people who get turned down by the banks.
Okay.
Effectively.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of hundred dealers that are on board, and what happens is we've partnered with 2 car subscription companies, and what the car subscription company does is buys the car from the dealership.
Yeah.
Gives it to the consumer under a rental agreement, almost like a rent to buy agreement.
Okay.
And the consumer effectively gets funded that way.
So is it rent to buy, or is it just, so let's say I just wanted it for 6 months. I'm somebody who's in the country for 6 months. I don't want to go through financing a car for 6 months. Is this a solution for that?
Yes, because you can get out of the contract. Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
somebody in America went and they measured the bras in the four most common bra manufacturers in the States. They're not the same companies as here. And what they did was they actually measured 32A, 32B, 32C. And across the 4 bra ranges, the measurements were completely different. So there are 2 measurements you look at, the 32, 34, 36, 38. And that's a measurement that's under your chest. That's not really...
What do you mean under the chest?
Under your bra, where your underwire would be right under,
so
underneath,
it's under
the
breast itself. So it's basically your chest circumference.
It's your chest circumference. It's how much fat you've got. It's not actually the breast size. And then you've got the volume of breast that then needs to fit into the cup of a bra. So what I didn't even realize until some years ago is, I thought all A cups were one size, but they're not. A 32A A cup is smaller than a 34A A cup.
That was the Tea Health Show, empowering you with knowledge. Download all previous episodes on your favorite podcast platform. The Tea Health Show is brought to you by Tea Clinic.
Is just one of the many shows you will find on cliffcentral.com. And Simphiwe sits in on that show every week. She's part of the lineup there. I can't believe you girls didn't know a 32 A cup is smaller than a 34 A cup, for example. I mean, that seems so obvious to me. I know that the circumference is the number.
Yes.
And the cup is the
but
cup
you
size.
would assume that the cup size doesn't change. So an A is an A all round. And then a B is a B or that's why it was like, oh, it's interesting to find out that it's an A cup is actually different sizes.
Yeah, basically, if you don't listen to this show, you're gonna miss out on a lot of important information. Ask Simphiwe. Every week's incredible. I mean, there's always something amazing that you discover there.
The 32 relates to the bandwidth.
Yeah, correct.
Yes,
and then the
bandwidth, like an internet bandwidth.
And then the letter is the size of the
volume of the breast.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Common knowledge, guys.
But
so you get
you
A,
assume,
B, C,
right? But because
double
they
D,
are ranked,
Do you get like double A?
yes.
Oh,
so
man.
then you also get double D or double G.
Yeah.
So and you would assume that all the A cups are the same size. That's why it's interesting to find out that an A cup now is not necessarily. They're not all the same size.
So does it only go to B once it's hit 3 A's, or can it go from a single A to a B?
No, so I mean, so A's are usually just the smallest one you can get.
Yes.
So it means you got very little titty. Okay.
You flat chested.
Yeah. So that just is a thing.
Yeah.
Then B's a little bit of
Slightly.
titty. C is like
Slightly.
medium-sized titty. D's big titty.
And
Not
then
even that big, actually. GF goes all the way up.
Oh yeah, like there are some ladies that have some milkshakes. They are big.
And let's be fair. There are a lot of women who still struggle to find bras big enough.
Oh yes, it's a thing. Like you can spend, if you have big boobs, easily like $2,000 on just a decent bra. Because if you walked into a mall, most of the commercial stores don't cater for women that have bigger boobs.
Yeah.
So you have to get it made, or you have to go to a boutique. And of course now
Imagine
you're
having
paying.
to have handmade bras. There's some place you go in, they take the huge measuring tape out and they weigh it. They're like, what sort of underwire do you want? And there's some woman in the back with a hammer and nails working on it.
It's when it comes to like the bra world, it's
a
fascinating. Like even women themselves, they wear the wrong bra size and cups, and they have not figured it out.
I have friends who've bought like lingerie for their girlfriends or their wives when we've gone overseas in a group or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a complicated business.
Yeah.
Because you go to that shop and you're really just hoping you've got the right thing.
Yes.
You're talking coding, Python, like
Yeah, it's difficult.
3-4-C /
Right, and then the woman at the shop will go, "Are you sure about that? Because that doesn't seem right." And you suddenly start.
Here's a picture.
No, you start second
And there's
guessing.
different styles as well. And not everybody, like there's push-up bras, there's t-shirt bras.
Right.
So like
There's wired versus elastic.
And then there's like sports bras. So depending on what your missus likes, you need to cater for her, because if she's not like a lover of a push-up bra and you get like something lacy that's sexy, she's still not gonna like it.
Well,
It's uncomfortable.
Arbot says, I've worked on a 44 triple G once for a tattoo.
Sure.
Wow.
When
That
does
is
it? When does
massive.
it start adding onto the letter? That's the question.
It's as the cup size get bigger and bigger.
But does it go through to F and then loop back around, then go double A, double D, double E?
So there are even numbers, letters rather, that go beyond G.
Oh man!
Yes.
But it depends. You've got to really find people who make them. As Simphiwe was saying, it's not easy to find them.
Yeah.
Congo Chris says, I mean, for example, Leanne Mole gets her bras forged by a blacksmith. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And then like ladies suffer from back pain when they're too big.
There you go.
And then they have to do surgery or breast reduction, which is another chapter.
Mad.
We talk about this all day, and
Yes.
we won't run out of things to discuss. But we do have to look at a couple of other things. So this, first of all, Flax, you're actually going away for the weekend. You're going to the bush, which I know you love to do.
Let me tell you about this place. I think this area is so underrated, but it is so beautiful because
Well,
it is.
careful, because you're going to say this, and then everyone's going to go there. And
No,
ruin
no,
it
it's
for you.
big. It's big. It's big.
Okay,
No
go
one's
on.
going to farm me.
Go for it.
Okay.
Because it's only about an hour's drive out of Joburg. You can literally leave work, get there before sunset. You can see lions and
Where?
Dino King.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, that place, there are
That's,
some
it's
legit
East Rand.
lodges in there.
Mhm.
Like an hour out of Joburg. It's like driving from here to the Vol, but you're going to see like the big, I think they've got the full big 5, or maybe they're missing 1 or 2.
That's very good value.
Okay.
You get the hot.
I like the idea of not having to go for like 5-6 hours to get to the Kruger National Park. I mean, it's just, and I'm not a big bush guy anyway. I don't want to go and drive around for 5 days looking for animals. It's not my thing.
I mean, it's a very different game you'll see in Dino King. Obviously, the Kruger trumps it,
Yeah.
but it's still a nice like hour drive to go see some legit wildlife.
Here's an interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
So this came up yesterday while we were talking about some of the things in the news. There was this British Airways pilot who had a cocaine-fueled party on a night off and then was unable to fly his plane back to London. Married, he's got a child, was allegedly snorting cocaine off of hookers in Joburg just hours before he was due to fly a plane full of passengers back to Heathrow. The Jordan Belfort-inspired pilot caused a 12-hour delay of a plane that cost British Airways £100,000.
Wait, what?
The information came to light after he himself bragged about it to a colleague who sounded the alarm. And what an asshole of a colleague.
Do you have the message there? I screenshotted it.
No, let's
okay, I'll
read.
hand it
So
to you.
before you read that, let's just look at the flight path here. Where was he when he did all of this? Joburg. Joburg is, tell me this isn't a fun place. For a pilot to cost his airline £100,000 because of a big cocaine-fueled party. Is this the...
Yeah, and then
you can
just
read it. You
okay.
can read it. Go for it.
So Mike Beaton is his
No, that's
mate.
his name.
Oh,
No,
that's his name.
that's
And
the
then
pilot,
he's
yeah.
messaging his mate. It was very, very naughty. So the mate goes, "Tell me everything. I hope it's even naughtier than us." So he goes, "Right, get ready." So standard Joburg setup, bar, grill house, Tiger's Milk. So I assume that's Melrose Arch.
Maybe.
Or could be the one in Bryanston. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Or Bedford.
Or Bedford. Yeah.
Getting chatted to this young Spanish bird and this Welsh chick who's about our age in the bar.
Yeah.
End up sat with them at the table in Griddle House and walking them down to Tiger's Milk. It's Sunday, so it's really not that busy, but music, dancing, and a few more drinks. At the bar, these 2 local lads who
It's
live
on
in
a Sunday.
Sunday,
Wow, that's great work.
who live in the compound. They take a fancy to the Welsh, and she's very drunk, so I'm keeping an eye on her. Obviously, ends up being shots and whatnot with these 2 lads. Turns out that they're absolute wasters, but not bad people. We all stagger back up to the hotel bar for one last one before bed. Welsh and one of these guys is getting it on very well, but she's told him that I'm her boyfriend. Couple of drinks in the bar, a bit of snogging, and then we're somehow all on our way to this dude's flat. Welsh has decided that I should actually be her boyfriend. Spanish has hooked up with one of the 2 local lads, and he's having her, I think it's tits sucked on their sofa.
That's great.
They've blurted out some words. Yeah, we've polished off a bottle of vodka at this place now, and the girls are dancing topless.
I'm regretting asking Flax to read this because
I feel like I'm not doing this justice. Do you want to read it?
I'll try and make it sound a little more exciting.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so I just scroll here, right?
No.
Okay, it's a screenshot.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, came back to my senses a little and thought things were getting way out of hand. Decided to rescue the girls and get them back to the hotel. He's a nice guy. Stayed the night with Welsh, shagged for ages. I guess the coke played a part, and then was so fucked I couldn't even lift my hand.
Wait, you left off the top part.
Welsh decided, okay, all right. So this is where she decided I should actually be her boyfriend. Spanish was hooked up with one of the local lads, having her titties sucked on the sofa. We polished off a bottle of vodka at this place. Now the girls are dancing topless. I've lost my shirt somewhere, and one of the local lads produces a plate with a few lines of coke. So then there's a debate about whose chest is the best to do a bump off of. Not going to lie, I may have started this with ulterior motives. That's the story of how I ended up snorting coke off a girl's titties in Joburg. Yeah, not a massive bucket list item for me either, but one to tick off, I guess. Laughing face. So, all right. I mean,
do you think the colleague was jealous?
I think the colleague was like setting him up for this because tell me everything. Then I'm going to go and tell the company.
Well, he actually gave details, so I would assume that they're actually really good mates.
Okay, but I'm conflicted here. Like half of me definitely does not want to be in a plane with a pilot who's off his head, drunk, hungover, coming off of a coke binge. I don't want that.
Yes,
I don't think it's a responsible thing, and you've got hundreds of people
that
you have to get safely to a destination.
It's illegal.
Thousands of k's away.
Yes.
Yeah. So that part of me, like, you shouldn't allow any of this to happen. I'm very much on that side still. But then there's another part of me that's like bro coding this and going, yeah, I know it's probably what people would consider very bad behavior and this is not acceptable and all the rest. But like, you don't rat out your friend to the company. I find myself seriously conflicted on this.
Unless his friend, this happened all before the flight, and his friend felt like, oh my God, maybe his friend was a pilot too and knew he couldn't fly a plane. So I have to have like a fiduciary duty to tell the company.
I don't think so, because I'm basing it on the level of detail that he went into. Like he didn't say, oh, dude, I had a great night. Did this crazy thing.
Fun.
Like I tried cocaine for the first time. It was like, no, he went into detail of the night, of how it started, the progression of it. So I think they're really good mates, because you wouldn't
not
spill
anymore.
that. Yeah, you wouldn't spill that to just
the
like
fact that these screenshots are now being sent all over the place.
Yeah. So I do think maybe he heard the story and he was like, and you didn't call me, fuck you, dude. And then, like it was one of those moments like, wait. And also, I think the other side is maybe because they lost the company lost so much money. It's like heads have to roll, and he's like, I'm not taking the fall for you, bro. Like if anything's gonna happen,
I know
they're not gonna blame me.
See, that is a very sensible approach, Simphiwe, but there's still something about it that bothers me.
And this guy, he trained probably for years to become a pilot and just lost it in a Sunday. He should have stayed home and watched Carte Blanche.
Because that's what they do. It's the culture.
And it's probably...
No, you can't do drugs if you're a pilot.
No, I'm not saying the drug part, but I'm saying they're living life on the edge. And I think that's one of the things that happens. That it's when you're a celebrity, you do your own thing and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is what people do. But I think it's the same thing with pilots. They travel.
Really? You think they live that?
No, not that crazy. I think that's why he was like, this is a highlight.
Here's the problem though, is that he's got a wife and kids at home. So that
that's
life be boring.
Again, no, but
that's a bit of a spanner in the mix there.
You're a single guy and you do some crazy shit, and who knows? You don't have to fly a plane with 400 people in it. Sure. Different rules apply. I just think it's a huge story in the UK at the moment. They haven't stopped talking about it, and of course South Africa's implicated. That's why we're interested.
Yeah, hey, Tiger's Milk. It's not getting a good rep there.
No, it's not bad.
No, it's got nothing to do with Tiger's Milk.
I think it's impressive. We can put on a show on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Who knew? I thought South Africa had become more boring since lockdown. But there we go. So, I don't know what's going to happen to him.
Oh, I read he's going to jail.
No, he's probably going to go.
It's tickets for him. I just hope it was worth it. I really hope that night was worth it.
No, I don't think jail's worth anything.
It didn't matter what happened on that night. Like, he's got major regret now.
Does he get trialed here?
No,
because this is where it took place.
He'll be tried in the UK. I mean, this is This is a totally UK thing. But if he ever comes back to South Africa, they're going to say, you and drugs, huh? Tell us about that. So I don't think he's going to.
Oh, he'll be banned from South Africa.
No, I don't think so. We're too chilled for that. I think they would welcome
also,
him
our
with
records
open...
are so shitty, he could probably walk in here. It's like Al-Qaeda could walk in here. Set up a camp right outside OR Tambo and everyone would be fine with it.
Yeah.
All right. So this is also interesting because Flax, you will remember what a big deal NFTs were just a short while ago, right?
Yes.
And people were spending millions, including like Paris Hilton had bought a whole set
Logan
of NFT.
Paul.
Logan Paul. They'd bought these things for millions of dollars. They say now, after a study that's been conducted on the price of thousands of collections, the answer as to what these things are worth now is zero. Apparently 95% of the digital collectibles that everybody was so crazy about just a few years ago are now worthless.
It was all perceived value.
Yeah,
like you
absolutely.
create your own demand. You buy something and you're like, oh my God, I just bought this for $50, but it is now worth 100 million because I own it and no one else owns it.
And it's total smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
So apparently a report by DAP Gamble based on data provided by NFT Scan and CoinMarketCap showed that out of 73,000 NFT collections, the researchers looked at 69,000 of them, slightly over 95% of them, and they realized they had a market cap of zero in Ether. So by their estimates, almost 23 million people in the world hold these worthless assets. So I just want to say,
a good scam.
Yeah, I just want to say to anybody who did buy these things, and I never did. I was always very skeptical of them. I remember people coming on the show trying to explain it to me. I didn't really get it. I thought I was stupid. I was sort of tempted once or twice to maybe dabble, but I didn't go there. Thank you, Jesus.
Do you think this is a scam or just a bad business idea? Because it's not illegal.
You know, what happens is that there are these frenzies in the world. We've talked about shoes. We've talked about cryptocurrency. We've talked about NFTs. Some of them retain their value. Some of them don't. There've been, periods in human history where people have like stockpiled gold, where people have stockpiled property, where people have stockpiled shares. Some of them retain their value, some of them do not. But the NFT situation is not looking good for anyone who's sitting with, I don't know, maybe you spent a whole bunch of your money on NFTs and you're looking at it now going, this is a piece of shit.
You know why I say it's a scam? Is because when everybody was talking about it, everyone was raving and was like, this is like the new thing. It's the best thing. What. There was no negative comment. And that's when you know, everyone was just praising it. Every single person. They were like,
get the alarm bells going.
Yeah, it was just too good to be true.
No NFTs, Simphiwe.
No NFTs. I mean, Bitcoin, but like tiny amounts. That's like,
yeah, but that's crypto.
Pocket change.
That's different.
Yeah, so that's how you kind of know it's too good to be true in this thing called life. Like, guys, like if it's too good to be true, just know.
Yeah, then it's too good to be true.
Just know that something is off, and maybe you should just do more research. That's all. You know.
Yeah, and Carl says now the rest of the world knows how Zimbabweans feel holding their own currency. That's about right.
Man.
They can hang those NFTs up on their meta properties. Thinking ahead, Gareth. You remember when people were buying property in the metaverse?
Oh,
remember that shit?
Yeah.
I don't know, guys.
Well, I think with that one, let's not.
I still think Zuckerberg's onto something. He's just ahead of his time.
Oh my God! He launched Ray-Ban Meta glasses.
Oh, those things are horrible.
No. So they look just like normal sunglasses, or like spectacles, but you can use them as, I don't know, if they could tell you about what a building is. It's
They've
almost
built in
AI. Like a heads-up display. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a place for this one day. We've seen it in sci-fi movies where, literally you get a heads-up display of all the information that you need on someone before you meet them. And you're like, who's that again? Oh, that's Simphiwe Mtetwa. And it comes up on the, and you can kind of see it through the glasses. There's possibly a place for it.
Did you see what he launched yesterday with the AI?
So are we talking about the same event? I think it must
be. No, I'm talking about the one with Kendall Jenner and Tom Brady. So basically, Mark Zuckerberg has created this new AI that like runs your home. You know how like Iron Man had, I think Iron Man had Jarvis.
Jarvis, yeah.
So Mark Zuckerberg now has Jarvis, but it's in the form of different celebrities with different personalities. So you talk to your home, but depending on what you asked, a different celebrity comes up. So if you ask a cooking related thing, like give me a recipe, or you can literally say,
who would want Kendall Jenner running their house? That's a disaster waiting to happen.
This is an ad like from, well, they made the ad a reality when Alexa lost her voice, and then Cardi B was the.
Oh, that would be funny.
And then they're ripping that, so you'd be like, Alexa, what's 1 + 1? And then she'd be like, girl, why you asking me? I don't know. And, you know,
imagine like a cheeky like attitude like Cardi B's from your home, like whatever it is, Alexa system. I mean, it would be horrible. Imagine she like back chats you like. Switch on the light. I ain't gonna switch no fucking lights on, bitch. That kind of stuff.
I think it's so sick. You'll literally open your fridge and say, hey, Kendall, I've got... So they're not actually named, like Kendall isn't Kendall. Okay. Kendall will have like some other name.
But it'll be her voice.
Yeah, her voice. So you're like, hey, Jarvis, I've got eggs, cheese, butter, and bread in my fridge. What can I make? Yeah. And they will tell you what you can make.
I don't know if I want that.
I don't know if I want the celebrity aspect.
Oh, you don't have to have it. But the people who do want it, again, they're going to be people who do it before the rest of us. Good. They can test it out for us. We'll see if it works.
Smart homes are the future.
I think you're right.
100%.
I mean, especially for things like, you know, switch on the lights before you get home, or put on the oven because I need to have it hot by the time I get there. I can put the stuff straight in. Yes. What is missing from the fridge? Do I need to stop at the shops and buy anything? Yeah, of course.
Let me tell you my greatest thing that I have in my house, because I've gone full smart home.
Have you?
I have this fear that my fiance will leave the oven on.
Oh, yeah.
So what I've done is I've gone into the DB board and I've put a smart switch on the oven, an isolator switch. Ooh. So if she ever leaves it on and like we're in the car to the movies and she's like, did I turn the oven off?
You can check.
From my phone, I just switch down that.
I've got that for the geezers in my house.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got the Sonoff on the geezers as well.
Yeah.
Have you worked
my
out...
geezer on right here, right now.
But have you worked out a pattern on when best to switch your geyser on and off so that it uses the least amount? Will you message me that? Because I need that. I haven't worked it out because I'm scared. Like
solar?
No, I don't have solar.
Not yet.
Well, but I did a hybrid inverter. So when I save up for solar, I'll get solar.
Okay. Well, then obviously during the day is the best time to do that. And you'd be surprised how long your water stays hot for.
Yeah.
You don't need to have that geyser on all day.
So are you switching it off during the day and then on at night?
So I do mine twice. I do it because I wake up early in the morning most of the days. Mine goes on before I wake up so that I have hot water to shower and all the rest of it in the morning. And then it goes on again at like 4 p.m. for an hour. Hour and a half if you have to, if you really want like boiling hot water. But an hour is usually all right. And that will last the rest of the time there's hot water as well.
But does it not use more electricity to go from 0 to hot than from like hot to just maintaining hot?
I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe there's some experts in
the comments. That's what I can't work out.
Listen, we've got to move on because, Congo Chris, I love this. Gilbert Gottfried to voice your house. Yes, what is it you want? That would be hilarious. All right, let's talk about today because it's World Health.
Let's start again.
Let's talk about today. It's World Heart Day. So we actually have an interview after 8:00, which I think you're going to be very interested in, with Dr. Farouk Mamdou, who is actually one of the best cardiologists in the country. He is also the chair of the World Heart Congress, which is happening here in South Africa. So we'll talk about that with him in a little bit. But I met somebody the other day who is a lifestyle coach, motivational speaker, and a wellness practitioner. Also, somebody who's a cardiac arrest survivor. I met her a little while ago. Her name is Suzette Marais. She's on the line now. Hey, Suzette, how are you?
Hello, guys. Fine, and you? Good morning.
Good. It's good to have you on. So listen, it's World Heart Day today. And tell us your story, first of all, so we can figure out why you are interested in talking about this and where you came into the subject.
It's very interesting. A few years ago, it started actually, I will just faint, won't feel very well, and that sort of thing. And I will wake up and we will go to a hospital and they will just say, I have a virus. Give me some fluids, give, some drips and go back home, sleep it off, and it will continue like that. So initially I went to a cardiologist and he said to me, let's plant in a type of a loop recorder that's the size of your pinky. So they plant it in, in your breast and just on top of your heart to monitor, all the rhythms and everything 24 hours during the day.
So that they can get the information to try and figure out what's wrong.
And you also have that it's actually on an app, which is amazing. So it's recorded the whole day. But if you don't feel well, you can press the app if you're in time, if you feel dizzy or whatever, and that will, actually send the flag to them to say on this specific minute, hour, whatever it happened. So, I went. Initially, I thought, no, I'm not going to do it. And then I decided, okay, I have to do it because it happened twice. And every time they say I have a virus. So about 10 days after the operation that they did, planted the loop recorder in, it happened again, 12 o'clock, just after midnight. And I just felt death is in the room. I was feeling very, very ill. Much, I had a lot of incidents in my life due to health issues and stuff when I was young. I lost babies. It's today 26 years when I had a near-death experience in London. Also, my heart stopped for 5 seconds. I was the first woman in South Africa to undergo an operation on unborn babies in London, and I lost the twins. So it started from there, and they could never actually pick something up. And so this evening, my husband went with certain presidents in the past, Nelson Mandela, and he looked after them. He was in a secret service. So he was very skilled to actually bring, a person back to life if there's an incident. And
like
luckily,
with like CPR, because he was traveling with these VIPs, he had to learn how to do that as part of his training.
That's
so
correct.
On this night after midnight, when this happened to you, you were very lucky that you married to a man like this who could perform the CPR and keep you alive.
Correct. I call him my lifesaver. So I was actually when I felt this started to happen, I was really drained with sweat, and I was feeling very, very ill. So I went to the bathroom just to wet my face, and I thought something is wrong, and I just had to get back to bed, and I said to him help, and I collapsed on the bed, and he saw that I was out. And at this stage, I came back and I looked at my hands. And I thought, I'm busy dying. It's like my hands are gray, and I just felt so ill. And the bed was actually wet because of sweat. So I ended up in hospital again, and they said to me in the ER room, everything is fine. My vitals, my pulse, my EKG. They're going to give me a drip. I have a virus. And the loop recorder was in. That was the Friday. So my cardiologist, Jean Foster, was in Istanbul. So he said to me, if there's something, they will pick it up. They'll let me know. So I knew that he was in Istanbul. So I thought, okay, what's going to happen now? It's over the weekend. The Monday morning, I went for meetings. I went to meetings, and they phoned me up. They said, you have to come in immediately. So I knew something was wrong. So when I went in, he said to me, listen, I don't know how you're sitting here. Your heart flatlined. You're very, very, very lucky that you're alive. And we need to do emergency procedure tomorrow, operation to implant a pacemaker.
Okay, so your problem was, and they only discovered this after a number of times that this has happened, you almost died.
Yes.
That essentially the rhythm of your heart is not regular, and that there is a neural link to your cardiac muscle. It's not firing properly.
There's an electrical problem, which means my pulse will go from during the evening, and that's normally when cardiac arrest also sometimes happen during the night. So I've met a lot of people overseas on the hashtags, which are very interesting. If you go on cardiac arrest survivors, you speak to people from 24 years, 34, 50, and fit and active people. And some, they will say it happens during the night normally. Not always, but I mean, it's actually scary. So, so he said to me, I have to go for a procedure because my pulse went from 45, 30, 15, 5 and 0.
Jesus.
Flatlined, yes.
So after that, you've obviously still got a pacemaker in, and
Yes.
since then you've been okay. But I mean, this is something that a lot of people are terrified of. We don't know. You always fear that this could happen to you,
Yeah.
and even smart doctors very often can get
That's
the
bad.
diagnosis wrong, right? And then how many people do die in their sleep? How many people have a heart attack and don't even know that they've had a heart attack?
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
what you've spent your life since then, among other things, Suzette, telling people about these heart conditions and getting people to pay attention to their hearts, right?
Yes. Well, I'm really, advocate now for CPR because I realize wherever I go, people think I had a heart attack, which is not the same. It's
Yeah.
absolutely not the same. So people will ask me, oh, but gosh, how's it, what's the difference? What's the symptoms? That sort of thing. And when I ask them, can you perform and save a life and do CPR or first aid? No. And 1 out of 10 people survive cardiac arrest out of hospital, which
Sure.
means that if you can do the CPR and you can help people, you can raise that numbers to a 5 and a 6 out of 10.
Wow.
So especially in South Africa, I don't know why. I'm also working with Claessens and Claessens First Aid CPR, the groups, and they also say that people in South Africa has this whole thing of it won't happen to me. It will only happen to other people, but it's not the truth. My best friend was 34. He woke up one morning very fit. He was doing Ironman, everything. He woke up in the morning, wasn't feeling well. The evening he passed away with the same thing.
Flax, can't you do CPR? You did training, right? You actually know how to do that.
I can do CPR, and I reiterate what you say. I think it is so important that every South African and everyone goes and does a CPR and a choking course. You have no idea how often it will happen, and it might not be someone you even know. You could be in a restaurant and someone starts choking. That you need to know how to handle that situation.
Sure.
Even vets go for like choking courses. It is so important to know. You never know. In the worst time, it will happen. When you least expect it, it will happen.
So it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, and it's like an hour or two out of your week just to go quickly do a course.
Yes.
So Suzette, just so people know, they can find you on social media. I'll put up all your handles, but you can also go to Suzette, SUZETTE.net.za, and you've got all the information there as well. There are people who do these courses. I mean, I think it's really valuable for people to have this in their skill set, like Flax says.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, listen, I'm really happy you could make time for us this morning, and I think this is appropriate on World Heart Day. So good luck with all the work that you're doing, and I hope more and more people learn to do CPR. I think it's great that you are out there making this happen.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you so much for your time, and be blessed.
Sure. Nice to see you. Thank you, Suzette. There's Suzette Marais. And if you want to find her on the socials, there's her official.suzette on social media. You can find out more there. Yeah, you did first aid courses, all of that stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I did a basic life support. So it goes basic life support, intermediate life support, and advanced life support. And the difference is like, I think majority of the guys in the ambulances are basic life support and maybe a intermediate life support. And then advanced life support and intermediate, they can administer like more drugs and they have those quick responding vehicles. But yeah, it's scary. And I mean, from what Suzette, right?
Yeah.
She's had some rough days. Wow.
That happens. I mean,
that is hectic.
She lost a friend who was really fit.
She lost twins.
Yeah.
That is devastating.
I tell you what, you've got to look after yourself. And the conversation that is coming up for World Heart Day with Dr. Fatima Patel and Dr. Farouk Mamdou, I think you're going to find very interesting. They talk a little bit about all the common conditions, how the heart works, basic information that could be very, very helpful to you. You know, it's important that we don't ignore these things.
100%.
Your heart works so hard.
And it doesn't stop.
It never stops. Sleeping,
at a
awake,
stage, it does.
When it does, you stop.
When it does.
Yeah, when it stops, you stop. That's what Dr. Mamdou said.
But I think this goes with health in general. Like people are so quick to be like, it's not a big deal when they're in pain. And then it becomes like an everyday a thing, you know, like, oh no, I just have back pain, it's fine.
Well,
Or, oh, I have this.
Exactly.
And it's like, no, get that sorted, because
And
your
listen to
health
this.
is everything.
Here are some comments. I mean, this has all come up now because it's World Heart Day. So Carl says 3 weeks ago, we called to the hospital to essentially say goodbye to my mom. Long story short, they managed to insert a pacemaker, and so she's stable. Still in ICU, but not dead, so that's good.
Sure.
Yeah. And then Hardy Dave reminding us that in 1967, the 53-year-old Louis Washkansky was the first person to receive a heart transplant from Chris Barnard, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh, man.
Famous South African record, yes. And then Patrick says, my father had a quadruple bypass surgery in 2020. That's a hell of an operation. Plus a hole in the heart and valve issue. I mean, that heart was just desperate to give up. But 77 years old, 30% chance, 9-hour op, went into cardiac arrest the next day, but got through. He's still alive and doing okay at 80. That's very
out.
Good. See? Amazing stories. Patrick says, before that, the first cardiologist simply said it was a valve issue. It's also a different valve. If he never got a second opinion, certainly would be dead today. So again, you got to look after these things. There seems to be a major spike in cardiac issues in the last 2 years. If only there was something that had happened recently that all these cases have in common that we could investigate. I know what you're hinting at there, Slippery Pickle. And I used to train people, says Joking Atheist, with basic first aid, level 3 first aid. What I found scary is that during that experience, so many people had so many strange ideas of how to perform first aid.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember it was years back, maybe like 5 years ago, I thought I was having a heart attack. Like I was on the floor, my chest was on fire, like I could barely breathe.
You just ate some chilies.
No. You'll know the story. You'll know the story.
Was this not just heartburn, as in a digestive thing?
I get to the hospital. I'm now on the ECG, like they've rushed me through everything. I thought this was it.
You were like 5 to death.
Turns out I had caught an infection between my ribs from Sia.
Oh, I remember that.
It literally felt like,
my God.
I thought it was a heart attack.
Yeah,
it was
I remember
hectic.
that was a very weird thing that happened.
I got rushed to hospital. I couldn't even like lift myself off the floor. I was in so much pain.
Be careful who you spend time around. That's what I'm going to tell you. All right, so that's World Heart Day, and we'll have some more for you in a short while with Dr. Farouk Mamdou and Dr. Fatima Patel, and that's brought to you by Asino. And Dr. Patel is a doctor and the medical manager in the medical department at Asino. So lots of useful information coming up in that discussion just after 8 o'clock. Quick thing that I know is important here. Simphiwe has every week she brings us something useful. And today she has a theory about girl math versus boy math.
Yes.
How men and women calculate things differently.
Oh, yes.
So I'll allow this because people love your theories, even though they criticize them. So go ahead, Simphiwe.
So this started off as an innocent trend, right? Where women were sharing how they calculate things, which is called girl math. And it makes sense. Like when I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense, right? So girl math, for example, would be like, if I have a budget for today and I didn't spend anything, that means I have double for tomorrow.
I see.
You get what I mean?
Yeah, it's not
right?
It's not logical at all, but yes. Okay,
yeah, and then it would be like buying yourself a treat for like something minor that's happening in your life because why? You deserve it. It doesn't make sense, but it makes sense. You know what I mean?
Green lights all the way to Santon City.
Yes.
Louis Vuitton.
Thank you.
Credit card.
Canceled plans means I'm making money.
Yeah, it's not sensible.
No, but it makes sense.
No.
I didn't go out, so I didn't spend it. Therefore, I have money in my cards.
Let's just say right up front, because I know this is going to get some people very pissed off, especially some women who don't think like this. They're going to go, it's not true for me.
My gosh.
It's not true for everybody. But what Simphiwe is saying, I know this to be true.
Great. So this is how women kind of think. And it was fun, right?
Okay.
Until men decided to get into the chat. And then women were like, your boy math is way off. It's worse than us. And here's some boy math that we found. Boy math is how 5'10" measures 6 foot.
Look at Flax. All right, so you're rounding up. Okay, you're rounding up. I got you.
How? Why are you guys doing that?
Okay, but basically, you're now going to point out how we're not sensible either.
Yes.
So this is actually...
Men will be like, in Heelys, it equates to 6.
Johnny, bro. Like, make that make sense,
because
right?
guys don't want to be short, so they'll always say they'll round it up. They don't say I'm 5'5" 5, they'll go, I'm almost 6 foot.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm 173, almost
Exactly.
6 foot.
But it gets more crazy how like thinking marriage has more serious consequences than having a kid with someone. Like a lot of guys would rather have a kid with someone.
Which is stupid. I agree. Very stupid, because obviously the consequence of it, bringing a whole new human into the
You have
world.
to be together forever.
Yeah, and you are together forever, even if you're not together, because the child keeps you together. There's always going to be communication.
Yeah, it should be the other way around. Like, it's
Correct.
more serious to have a kid with someone.
It is.
Yeah, but you guys clearly don't think
I
that.
don't point at us. I'm agreeing
I'm not
with
part
you.
of the. This was a.
I'm agreeing with you, but go ahead. What else?
Okay. Wanting a okay, I felt like this was a bit personal for the ladies. Wanting a prenup and you only make 45,000.
No, prenups are standard. They now standard law.
It should always be.
Yeah.
Listen, it is not a reflection of how much you love or don't love each other to do a prenup. You need to do this. It's like going into business with someone. You need to have contracts so that when it falls apart, you can say, but look, these are the things we agreed to. You can't have feelings about this. This is just how it is.
It has such a bad rep, but it's like putting on a swimming costume when you jump into a pool. Like, it's what you do.
Exactly. You don't. Yeah, right.
Okay. And
Don't go in
then
blind.
the last one, which I totally understand, is how every week guys will wear a soccer t-shirt with their favorite, teams or like their favorite artists, but will judge, the girls when they wear like Beyonce tops or, Taylor Swift tops. You guys look at us.
I don't know if
side-eye.
that's not maths, but yes, I hear you.
Yeah, it's just, so it's that thing of like girls and guys don't think the same, but hey, I'm just saying.
You got anything to say about that?
I mean, it's pretty accurate. Guys will wear their soccer shirts and group together and then chirp the one guy who supports the other team. And
you guys think that's cool. That's okay.
Congo Chris going straight for the throat. He says, girl math is expecting some handsome millionaire to sweep you off your feet when you're a sea hag with 3 kids. Jeez.
Okay, all right. You had to take it there. You just had to take. But also, wait, guys. If you're gonna Congo Chris, if you're gonna hit below the belt, because there's also another one that I saw was boy math is like having 12 bodies, but you've never made anyone come.
Ooh, so your body count is high, but but you don't know that as a guy because girls lie. I mean, that's what some guys will say. That's what some guys.
But
will
also,
say.
boy math is, having 2 kids when you're alive, and then when you've died, have 5 kids.
And they find out at the funeral.
Hectic.
No.
I'm sure that happens a lot.
Oh, there's been French presidents where the mistress arrives at the funeral. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's crying as hard as the wife.
I would think guy math is like, where's the next petrol station? How far can I get off an empty tank?
That's a big part of it too. I sometimes I'm like, oh God, I hope it's a lot of downhills. I hope it's a lot of downhills to the next petrol station because you forget. You're like, oh shit, I was meant to fill up yesterday. I'll be all right though.
Oh yeah.
There's no time to stop. I got this appointment at whatever time. You get there and you're like, oh shit. I just realized I got no petrol in the car.
But are you the type to fill up when it's almost empty, or are you the type to fill up when it's empty? Because I know a lot of females, they like to, as soon as it hits like even just under the half tank, they're like, no, I need to go fill up.
I mean, I'm a bit obsessive about this, so I'll usually, as long as I'm paying attention, I'll never get below like a quarter of a tank.
Oh, you don't enjoy reserve tank.
But it has happened a number of times where I've been, and it literally says 0 kilometers on the thing, and I switch off the air conditioning, switch
the music.
off the music. Everything's off, and I'm like, right, we're gonna have to, guys, let's pull our shit
neutral.
Yeah. You think you're commanding a spaceship, and you're like, all right, we gotta slide in here, downhill.
Yeah, I've done the
going
calculation.
to neutral.
I've done where it was like you have 50 kilometers left, and then I was like, where's the nearest garage station? And it was like 51 k's out.
Oh shit!
And then I'm like, okay, but we can make it. And then you drive super slow. I'm there 20, and you're just like neutral.
And if you have a fancier car that actually has the measurement of how many meters per 100 kilometer, you're like watching that thing like a hawk.
And then it goes, and then it does this thing because my car sometimes has a mood. It'll be like 50 and then 45, 40, and you haven't moved. And you're like, wait, don't
And it's because the petrol's doing this in the tank,
yes.
right?
He's like, no, come back. And then he'll go back to like 49. You're like, okay. And then he's like 30. Ganjani. I get so nervous. And I'm like, okay. And then you make it.
Do you know how like your car will say empty and then will tell you your range? In my car, when it goes empty, the range eliminates. There's no range given. You are blind from there.
Man,
you don't know if I don't know if my car's a reserve tank. I don't know how much longer I got after. It's full panic.
Jesus. So
Living on the edge.
Arbot says that E in the petrol gauge means enough. You'll be all right. Jesus. There are people like Azalea says that we travel with extra diesel because my husband often will run out of petrol. So they actually keep
like jerry cans.
Yeah, in the boot.
Okay.
That's crazy. I've never done that.
No.
Please tell me one thing that man is allowed to fake, to have that is fake. Just one, says Max Sony. I don't know if Mac's getting like very touchy about something there.
It's not personal.
Yeah, it's not personal. None of this is offensive to me. I really don't think any of your things on the list. What it does prove is that we think that men are more logical if we're men, and if we're women, we think we're more logical.
Yes.
But this just proves your girl math, boy math thing, that while women can be pointed out to have no logic at all when it comes to spending money, for example, guys have no logic at all when it comes to all those things you mentioned.
Yes.
Right. I think that's a good point. So you're not as smart as you think you are, is essentially what it is. I have a secret 2-liter petrol in my boot for emergencies, says Slippery Pickle.
Secret. Oh, hectic.
Yeah. I mean, that a lot of people do that.
Isn't that illegal? Isn't it illegal to carry petrol in your car? It has to be on the outside.
I don't think so. I mean, who knows what the rules are, because the metro cops will find something wrong if they want to find something wrong, right? Yeah. They were stopping people the other night and checking their licenses and things. I was like, this just looks like they're looking for money.
Yeah, they are.
They're not looking to save. Yeah, they're not looking to save anybody's life or check whether your car's roadworthy or lights or... George will know this stuff later.
I put in a new license disc last night, and I don't know if you also find it traumatizing to cut out that circle.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Why is it traumatizing?
I can't follow the line, and then I cut a number.
And then you're just like, I don't want to make a mistake, but I also don't want to leave too much. I want to be as close to that circle. Yes.
Must the circle line be in the picture, or must you cut it out? I have no idea.
You've just validated that entire experience for me, because I thought I was crazy. I was like,
just give me it pre-cut.
Yes.
Guys, is this really what bothers you?
Yes.
There's even a little black line around it.
Yeah, but must you cut?
What, did you not go to primary school with the blunt scissors? You remember the round nose ones that you learned to cut?
Here's my excuse.
You only have kitchen scissors to cut it.
Okay, that's you. Here's my excuse. I'm left-handed, right? And I don't like using left-handed scissors. They're uncomfortable. I don't know why. They just don't do the job for me. So I use the normal scissors, and still it's just a mission and a half. And it's like, why am I cutting a circle? And my big age, why?
I'm embarrassed and horrified for you. Like, you never sat in like nursery school and learned how to cut things out?
Yeah, I did that when I was 6.
Like, I thought this was basic hand-eye coordination.
I did that when I was 6.
Yeah, but if it goes wrong here, it goes very wrong.
No.
Yeah. There's no coming back.
Guys, the way you're talking about this, you'd think it was like the toughest challenge in the world. That only 2% of the population
It is up there.
We're going to do a little thing on the show where I'm going to draw a picture, and you're going to have to cut it out.
No!
Simphiwe's going to shit herself. I can't believe you guys can't do this.
You're making me nervous already just thinking of like having to cut something out.
Wow. Okay, so Azalea says you can photocopy your license disc and keep the original at home.
Oh. Okay.
That is a genius idea, actually.
See, there's always a way around.
You know how many times I'll open the window and it will actually sometimes nearly fly out the window out of that license disc holder.
Wow.
You've got one of those little pouches you put it in, right?
Yeah, I put it on the side of the road. I've nearly lost that license disc so many times.
This is an interesting point. So petrol expires fairly quickly. Storing it in your car is a bad idea. Just stop nonsense and fill up. Yeah, so
petrol expires.
Well, no, it's not. What he's talking about is that it's volatile, as in it very quickly converts from liquid into gas. Especially if it's a hot day, you'd have to vent it a couple of times. In other words, open the top. Like a
terrible idea.
Yeah, not a good idea, because fumes of petrol highly
in like a Coke bottle,
highly flammable. Of course, not a good idea. So good point being made. You see, Carl's very sensible. We should listen to him more often. And some people here are saying that they can't believe that you guys can't cut. And I can't believe it.
Judgment.
We should start a company where we pre-cut the license.
Oh, please. Do you think people, it's only you two who can't do this.
The whole of
but
Santon will opt in.
People don't like doing things. Let me tell you something. People will pay for convenience. They will.
Mm.
And the mere fact that I am going to just...
So listen to this. Talk about convenience. I found out the other day. So we were talking about solar just now. The solar panels need to be cleaned, obviously, because they gather dust and shit.
Mm-hmm.
There are people whose whole job it is. They don't install the solar. They don't connect it up. They don't do painting of roofs or any of the other stuff that might be associated with this. Their whole job is just cleaning the solar panels.
Sure.
And they get up on your roof and they're specialists at this. I think
specialists.
I think you should be able to clean your own stuff.
Word specialist.
Specialists.
Did you get served this as an online ad? Because I did the other day, and I was like, "This is a legit role."
So when people say, "Oh,
they had like brooms up there and stuff,"
when people say like the robots are going to replace us and there's going to be very little work and people are losing jobs, then people will find new jobs. Who knew there were solar panel professional specialist cleaners before now?
Hi, I'm Berlin Trapo, and I'm your housekeeper.
Exactly. All right, let's go to George. He's the guy who knows about these license disc things. George, I'm not the only one. Please tell me that you also think it's ridiculous that these two morons can't cut their license disc out with a pair of scissors like a primary school kid.
They're of the perforated age.
I mean, really, George, you learned to do this. You probably, I mean, I remember at nursery school, we had some pretty intense teachers at nursery school that were like, if you can't cut this shit out, then we're going to blindfold you and you must try. I think we could probably, our generation could manage it with a blindfold on. These two are like, they've got left-handed scissors. They've got the line around there. They still can't get it right. This is embarrassing.
Left-handed scissors. Who's left-handed? Simphiwe, are you left-handed?
Yes.
Yeah. So it sounds like an excuse to me. Wasn't Tom Cruise? He's got dyslexia, right?
Sure.
He's just one of the people in the world. Lots of famous people have dyslexia. Lots of not famous people have it. And he always complains his like victim story. Tom Cruise is like obviously a victim. He's a successful actor in the world. He was like, oh, when I was at school, where they forced me to use my right-handed scissors. That was his like hard luck story. Everybody has to be a victim.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is like, I couldn't write with my right hand, but they forced me to. Well, I can't spell. That's his sad story.
So we can't cut. It's okay.
Yours is even worse than Tom Cruise's. Anyway. You got to check those license discs though, George, because if they stop you in a roadblock, they'll fine you, or they'll even in a very bad situation, it could even take your car away, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
I went and picked up my sister from the airport the other day, and the police that are patrolling up and down the airport's drop and go came and checked the license disc. And apparently they will just, lock your car right there if it's unroadworthy or doesn't have a license.
Sometimes at these roadblocks, they've got the tow truck right there to just take your car away. Yeah. And these guys are after like bribes and stuff, but some of the time they are empowered by the law to just take your car away.
Yep, impound.
George, what are you driving at the moment? I think I ask you this every time I see you.
A little while ago, I had the Volvo XC60 plug-in hybrid, which was a beautiful car to drive. I had that for about a week. I'd say, in South Africa, that's probably the sensible solution. I've still got my battery electric, but I think for the next 5, 6, 7 years, plug-in hybrid is the better way to go.
George, tell us the truth now. I know we've all been talking about electric cars now for a couple of years. You're very positive on the electric car front. What percentage of the cars sold in South Africa are electric?
A very small percentage, Gareth. They're up to about 500 a year now, and
that's nothing.
It's nothing compared to 30,000 a month.
What are the factors contributing that? Is it just access to?
How about no electricity? That's a good place to start.
Okay.
Like we're a country that can't even produce the electricity. And I love the way all these environmentalists and these people who are so pro, like, the green movement, and they seem to think that the electricity that you get from your plug is not made by burning fossil fuels. I don't know where they think it comes from, but South Africa is still largely a country, even when we don't have electricity, the electricity that we do have comes from burning coal. So you may have an electric car, but guess what? The electricity that you're charging your car with still comes from those big smoke-producing carbon emission stations in Mpumalanga. Sorry.
Good point, but Gareth, if I can offer the alternative argument, which is a unit of energy in a regular petrol engine vehicle, in the petrol tank, only 20% of that energy translates into energy on the tires. Heat, movement, parts have to move in different directions, etc. There's 2,000 moving parts in a car. With an electric car, it's the flip side. 80% of a unit of energy stored in the battery reaches the tires. So you've got it's
an efficiency thing.
Exactly. So you can burn coal all day long, and an electric car will still be more efficient. But the counter argument to that is it takes approximately 3 years for an electric car to become carbon neutral with a fossil fueled car because of the lithium battery and the way it was produced.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and all those components are very, very bad on the environment as well. But let's park that, if you don't mind my use of a car term. We were talking, and I know you've got a bunch of things to ask us and we're running out of time, but we were talking about how you can save yourself if you've run out of petrol and you're on empty and your reserve tank is empty. And how long do you usually have in a car? And does it help to turn off the radio and to turn off your air conditioning? All that energy that you're talking about in a petrol car, that can burn off doing those things.
Yeah, aircon is probably the petrol heaviest, so it consumes the most additional fuel when you have it on, but it's also marginal. It's not that much. Maybe you'll get a kilometer or two out of switching off your aircon. The biggest factor is open windows in a car. The moment you've got open windows, you've got a massive amount of drag.
Drag. That's right. Drag. Very good. Okay, now that's a useful thing to know. See?
Close the windows. And most cars have anywhere between 50 to 80 kilometers on the reserve light. So,
that's quite a fair amount.
Yeah. Okay.
George, have you ever been in a Tesla Model S Plaid?
Not in the Plaid, no, but I've been in the Tesla Model S.
Is it all the hype that they say? Like, do you feel that?
Flax, we don't have time for your questions. George, please, can you and George take this? How do they say it in meeting? Take this offline. George, what do you have for us? Jesus, I mean, let him. He'll talk to you all day. We'll be here until 9 o'clock.
George is one of the coolest oaks I know.
I know that, but George has got an agenda here. So go on, George. What do you got for us?
Well, I'm not going to go through all the stories because we don't have time. I'm going to cover two things today, and the first thing is AutoTrader has just launched a what we call car subscriptions. And you can hear all about it on Monday's podcast, but on cliffcentral.com. But a car subscription. So what car subscriptions is you could do a rent to buy and have a short-term rental on a car. We now offer the ability to search for those cars on AutoTrade's platform. It's live right now. If you go and fill in your details that you want a subscription, who's this targeted at? The vast majority of consumers who battle to get finance. That's who it's targeted at.
Very good. We need options. That's a nice one. Good. Okay, excellent. And more people are doing this stuff, right, George?
Yes. We launched it the other day. We got over 150 applications on day one, and in a week we've got over 500 applications. So it is
that's more than the number of electric cars we sell in a year.
Correct.
All right, what else?
All right, let's get into some trivia.
Can I just say I've dibbed on Flax being my teammate because I know that I'm not good. So Flax, the pressure's on. Okay?
We got this. All
right. So it's Flax and Simphiwe versus me. I'm not afraid. Go ahead, George.
Okay, so question number one. In the 1980s, the film Knight Rider, what was the name of David Hasselhoff's talking car?
Okay, I have a generational advantage here. It's Kit.
Kit is the right answer.
And then you know what it stands for? And you know what it stands for? Knight Industries 2000.
That's it.
Common knowledge.
You guys don't even know. You have no David Hasselhoff knowledge to compete with George and I. All right, go ahead. Next question. 1 point to me.
All right, and that is a double T because it's 2000.
Yes, I know.
There we go. So what is the name of the Italian luxury car manufacturer that features a trident as its emblem?
I got
Flax.
it. Maserati.
Maserati. There we go. Gareth wins the game.
That's what I was going to say.
You got to shout out your answer.
I'm
you
glad
losers.
I didn't shout it out.
You losers. I'm ahead
What
by
is
2
a
points.
trident?
Next.
Okay, next question is, what car did James Dean become famous for that became an American symbol of being posh?
Mercedes.
No, I almost gave it away in that last part.
It's got to be a Cadillac.
Rolls Royce.
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Simphiwe, you want to try this one? I'll give it to you for the brand if you like.
No, I don't. All I know is James Dean died on a motorbike, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But the American symbol for freedom and making money, it was a 1955 Porsche 550 Spider.
Okay.
Upside down bath story.
Got you. I like it.
This is fun.
Okay.
I dig this.
It wasn't a Daewoo Matiz.
Okay, last question. You got to have your finger on the buzzer for this one because Gareth might get it, Simphiwe and Flax. What car did Magnum PI, Tom Selleck, drive in the film Magnum PI?
I'm going to go with red Ferrari. I don't remember what kind of Ferrari, but it was a Ferrari. It could have been like a... Oh, man. Have I at least got the brand right?
You've got the brand right.
I don't remember which model though.
458 Italia.
Oh, that's a nice guess. It was a Ferrari 308 GTS.
There we go. All right. But I got Ferrari, so did I get a point?
Yes, of course you get a point. You got Ferrari. And so Gareth, before the start of the show, we'll tally up afterwards, has got 20 points and Simphiwe 10.
In total. All right.
Sorry, I couldn't help Simphiwe.
All right. Okay, well, that's how we're doing this morning, and very, very good way to end the show by me beating Simphiwe and Flax decisively 3-0.
Oh my word!
I love it. Gen X for the win. All right, okay, everybody, have an excellent weekend. George, thank you very much. Nice to see you as always. Remember, it is World Heart Day today, everybody. So the interview that's coming up next, I think you're going to find very, very interesting. Dr. Fatima Patel, who's a doctor and a medical manager in the medical department at Asino Health, had a fascinating chat with a cardiologist who is also the chair of the World Heart Congress here in South Africa, Dr. Farouk Mamdou. I think you'll find it pretty damn interesting. Everybody should listen to this and pass it on to anybody you're worried about in your family too. This is the thing about podcasts. People should listen to them in their own time, especially if it's something that interests them or that should be of value to them. And you can pass these things on. You can send them the link on WhatsApp, for heaven's sake. It's so easy. All right, everybody. Thank you. We will see you on Monday. Have an excellent weekend. Bye-bye. Cheers.